Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno episode 234, and this is a show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week, so let's get started. And I had 21 books this week. My least favorite this week was X-Men Gold, issue 24. Love the cover, like the orange is the new black homage here, but I didn't like the B-list X-Men part of the storyline. It kind of just felt forced in there, and I wanted more of the orange is the new black storyline. I wanted to see more of Kitty, Rachel, and Storm in jail. Loved the opener, but then after that, I just kind of lost interest in the issue. But then, towards the end of the issue, we get Storm in solitary confinement, and I was like, oh, go back to that. I just feel like they try to focus on too many things here. Also, the artwork, I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like I wish there was more detail in the characters' faces. Very kind of lanky type of art style here. I just don't really love the shape of their bodies as well. So, overall, I gave this one 2 stars, and that is number 21. Moving on to number 20, which is Avengers issue 685. You know, this hasn't been my favorite event so far, but really enjoyed last issue. And this issue slows things down a bit more, where I just feel like everything feels decompressed with this event, because obviously they have to tell a certain amount of story in like 20 issues. So I do not believe this series or event had to be a weekly series or, you know, this huge number of issues event, and I think that's what really makes this less enjoyable for me. And this was more pure action in this issue. I wanted a little bit more emotion, especially with the return of Hulk and the revelation of who Voyager is. We only get tidbits of that. And the moment I did like the most here, and why it wasn't my least favorite, is I did like Hulk defeating Vision. I thought that was a cool scene, and it was good artwork in this book as well, which made that Vision scene well done, because this was a bit more of an action-heavy issue. So overall, I gave that 2.5 stars, and that is number 20. Now moving on to number 19, which is Injustice 2, issue 22. And I really liked the ending of this issue, and that's kind of all that really hooked me on this one, which was the Superboy scene. And I love that Mom Pa Ken said, hey, you need to give the S symbol on the right side again. And I enjoyed that, and obviously Cassie and Superboy's interaction with each other. But I'm not a big fan of the Gorilla villains, you know, Gorilla Grodd and the rest of the crew. I'm not a huge fan of their characters, so I didn't really care for their scenes. And then the Supergirl and Wonder Woman stuff I like, but I don't love the art style for that section. So for me, this was kind of more of a lackluster Injustice 2 issue, but still excited to see where it goes, of course, because this is one of my favorite series from DC. So I'm going to give that one 2.5 stars. Moving on to number 18, I believe. Let's see. Yes, we are on number 18, and that is Kick-Ass issue 2, a book that I'm getting because I have all the Kick-Ass issues, have all the Kick-Ass related issues. So this one I thought got a little better though. I did like that by the end we get to see our Kick-Ass character wants to be a hero, and we see a bit more of a heroic side of her. Not a big fan of Romita Jr.'s artwork. I do think it fits a bit better for this series than other series he works on, but still not a huge fan of his art style. But I do think the book is going in a better direction with this issue. So I gave this one 3 stars. Now moving on to number 17, and that is Archie issue 29. This is like the lowest I've had Archie for this list, because I usually love this book, and it wasn't a bad issue. It just kind of focused on plot lines I didn't really care about for this arc, and that is the Reggie and Cheryl stuff. I did not really care for their interaction, and then the Archie stuff was fun, but it's not as fun as the Betty and Veronica scenes, and we don't get to see them at all in this issue, which was disappointing. But I did like the end of the issue where we finally get to learn a little bit more about the Blossom's father, so I'm excited to see where that goes, but it was a little bit too late as we get into the issue. Also, this isn't my favorite art style. I've been saying that for a while. I think it's a little bit too simplistic, and I know it's a slice of life book, but I've seen I don't want to say better styles, but more styles that fit my you know, my personal preference. So Archie issue 29 gets 3 stars for me. Moving on to number 16, which is Cave Carson has an interstellar eye, issue 1. I had fun with this one. You know what you're buying when you get Cave Carson or any young animal book. It's trippy as hell, but that's kind of the fun of it all. And I love the family interactions here. I like how we learned how Chloe got her name. One of my favorite scenes is Chloe's flashback as a teenager, and she's like, "Get out, Dad," and she like has all these dark poems she's trying to hide. I thought that was pretty fun. But yeah, it's just a fun adventure trying to, not trying to save the singer, but trying to help him die because he's getting ready to die, and it's cool to see that he's this kind of interstellar being, and he compares it to his stardom as a singer. I thought that was pretty cool. So overall, I gave this one 3.5 stars. As always, it's a lot of fun, and one of my favorite young animal books. So moving on to number 15, which is Superman issue 43. If you are a big Bizarro fan, I think you're going to enjoy this one. A lot of cool character moments. I like the Lois and Clark stuff. Them just watching a movie was a lot of fun. But just seeing Superman and Superboy teach Bizarro how to be a good person in his own way was cool. I like Damian's Bizarro self. I thought was a fun tidbit. There's a lot going on here, though. It does feel a little overstuffed. Like Damian kind of felt like pushed in towards the end, and that's kind of a complaint. And also, this is not my favorite art style. I always feel like the characters are like wearing bold eyeliner. Just everything is really heavily inked, and again, just not really my style for this book. But overall, I gave this one 3.5 stars. Again, really depends how big of a Bizarro fan you are, but as a Bizarro story, it's pretty solid. So I'm going to give that 3.5 stars. Now, moving on to number 14, which is The Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows issue 17. I do like that Annie's kind of getting her own voice a little bit more here. That's been a huge complaint of mine with this series. I'm glad to see that. And also her just doing some teenage stuff and teaching these kids how to use their abilities, and these two, theater people who get their, get these powers. So I thought that was a cool story that's kind of more unique to this series. I'm not a big fan of the coloring here, though. For some reason, the colors just don't really mesh well, especially the yellow text. I didn't think the lettering meshed well as well. I guess orange yellow text. And also, just some of the facial expressions, sometimes they're really scrunched up. I think that could be a little bit cleaner. But overall, I gave this one 3.5 stars. Again, at least it's kind of finding a direction for itself and not really taking so much from other Spider stories. Now, moving on to number 13, which is Regression issue 8. And this is a bit of a slower issue once again, but we're definitely picking up the story by the end when Molly and the detective she's working with visits her ex, which was kind of cool to learn that. And they are going to regress as well. And then on Adrian's side, you learn a bit more about the society he's pretty much trapped in. And of course, the artwork is just gorgeous for this book. It's creepy, and that's something that really grabbed me from the beginning of the series. So overall, gonna give this one 3.5 stars. Moving on to the next issue, which is number 12, which is Witchblade issue 4. I thought this was an improvement from previous issues. I still feel like I want more Witchblade action than we've been getting. It's definitely a slow burn, but finally we are getting a little bit. We're seeing our main character adjust to being part of this Witchblade, and I love her voice overall, which is really what gets me into the series. Artwork, love the style, love the tone, especially the coloring. There are times where I wish there were more detail in the eyes. A lot of times there's like no pupils. I wanted to see more attention to detail there, because obviously facial expressions are very important for an emotionally driven book like Witchblade. So overall, I gave this one 3.5 stars. Alright, moving on to number 11. I was sad to see this so low because it's been in my top 5 this whole entire arc, and that is Spider-Gwen issue 30. I love the Gwen and Gwen stuff. I like that we didn't really know what universe you were in, but I just love the interactions and them, obviously finding how they're related, and Gwen pushing other Gwen throughout the whole issue and then understanding her by the end. Stuff I didn't like, the Watcher stuff. I mean, obviously you needed it to explain how this is all happening, but where I think it really dropped the ball was seeing Gwen's kids and Gwen herself in that other alternate universe where Miles and Gwen end up together, which I didn't really like that whole arc. I felt like it was very forced to have, you know, two popular Spider characters in an arc together. So seeing those characters, I'm like, oh, okay, this is not what I liked about Gwen. You know, I didn't need a weird twist like that. So hopefully we get back on track by the next issue, but I gave this one 3.5 stars. Moving on. Oh, and I will say the artwork, as always, with Rico Renze is gorgeous. I love the emotions here and the contrast between other Gwen and our Gwen. I love the kind of, I don't know, kind of like 50s vibe in some ways, where how Gwen talks, but obviously just the Gwen that we knew before the death of Gwen Stacy. But just the way she talks is like, golly gee. And then, of course, we got our punk rock, anxiety-ridden Gwen. But I wanted to mention that. Alright, moving on to, what are we up to? We are up to number 10, which is Babyteeth, issue 9. Really solid issue, some action-packed moments here where we get to see Sadie's father trying to get her back and finding out where she is. And it looks like, well, Sadie's mother stole Clark, as we know, and it looks like she's trying to save her father for some reason. Maybe she still loves her, but she does not care about Heather. Heather maybe is dead, we don't even know, but I hope she's not, because I really like her character. But really interesting, again, more action-driven issue, but some really good character moments as well. So giving this one 4 stars, and I just love the gritty artwork here, but not muddy. It just totally works for this book. Always love that. Now, moving on to number 9. And number 9 is Kill or Be Killed, number 17, issue 17. This is a solid issue where we get to see our main character, Dylan, trying to get this this person that works at the mental hospital, which has been sexually assaulting his patients. So he's trying to figure out, Dylan, alright, did I see the right thing? And then he quickly realizes, yes, I did. How am I going to kill him? And, you know, it's the same story we've seen before, but in a different setting and a different mindset for Dylan. So overall, I thought this was a very solid issue, so I'm going to give this one 4 stars. Moving on to number 8, which is Outcast issue 34. This was a well-progressed issue where we get to see what happens to Megan after the car crash from last issue, and also seeing what the other players are doing, really setting up the war. Now, I kind of like and dislike this whole war thing, because I like it because I think it works for Outcast, but I dislike it because it's exactly like The Walking Dead. So I'm like, alright, like, is this Walking Dead with demons? Like, do we want to see that? I don't know. Kind of want some diversity from Kirkman, but I do like the characters, even if also our main character feels like, you know, Rick in a lot of ways. But, yeah, I did enjoy Megan being kind of played as this hostage. I'm curious to see how she's going to get out of this. And then, even moments from characters we haven't seen in a while, like our main character's daughter, her describing how it feels to be an outcast, and maybe we'll see a bit more from the kids who have these outcast powers. But even Megan's husband, we get to see action from him. So just a really well-rounded issue, and overall I gave this 4 stars. Love the artwork, love the emotional beats here, especially in the end again with our main character's daughter. Well, actually I think that was more towards the middle-ish. But there's some really interesting kind of ticks they use, that they do small boxes to really show the intensity of these characters. So I'm going to give this 4 stars, and that is number 8, it looks like. Alright, moving on to number 7, which is Go-Go Power Rangers issue, what are we up to? Issue 8. And this was a pretty solid ending for our whole Matt coming back story, and then trying to destroy this putty who actually is very conflicted, obviously following what Rita's rules are, but then you see inside him there's this piece of him that wants to warn the Rangers. So they deal with that in some interesting action sequences, with Billy really being the forefront of defeating this putty and directing the team to defeat the putty. And I love how they use Zords in such a unique way, where you have the Megazord, and they're like, no, let's, you know, use our own robots, and that's how we're going to defeat them. And I thought that was cool, because obviously that's something you wouldn't see in the show, because, you know, budget, but I thought it was really unique to use for the comic that's usually based more on the character stuff, so it's cool to see a little bit more of the Ranger action with this book. Stuff that did slow it down, though, is that opener with Rita. I know it's setting up probably for future storylines with Shattered Grid, but that was a little slower for me, just because maybe I don't love the villainy talk all the time in Power Rangers. It's not one of my favorite parts, personally, but I love the ending of this book. Spoiler alert if you haven't read it yet, because this is a big spoiler, but we find out who the Ranger Slayer is, and that is, I guess, Kimberly. Obviously, it's Kimberly's suit, and it has a lot of matches to the Power Rangers Pink miniseries, that costume that she had. So we can say it's probably Kimberly, but obviously the helmet's not off, so you can't confirm it's Kimberly, but definitely looks like her suit. So I'm excited for that, especially it is Kimberly, which, I mean, 90% probably is. But love that cliffhanger. And I kind of saw it coming because we didn't see Kimberly in that other arc that set up Lord Draken. So I'm like, oh, what happened to Kimberly? We know this Ranger Slayer's coming. Okay, yeah, Kimberly is probably the Ranger Slayer. But I enjoyed that. That's only prelude to Shattered Grid, though. Maybe the other parts will have a bit more Shattered Grid stuff. Kind of wish this was a bit more of a prelude, but that last page did enough for me. So I gave this one 4 stars. As always, love Moore's artwork. I think he's great with the character stuff, the action, just overall, just really great stuff here. So I'm going to give that 4 stars. Now moving on to number 6, which is Batman issue 43. Overall, I thought in the beginning, I was like, oh, this is going a little slow. Where's this going? And I loved how Batman and Catwoman worked together to defeat Poison Ivy, but especially using Harley and their relationship with each other to get Poison Ivy to understand what she was doing. Just like seeing the highlight of their relationship, because they are together, but I feel like not many comics deal with that. But I'm not reading Harley Quinn, so maybe that's the reason. I don't read that series. Maybe they deal with it a little bit more there, but I liked how Batman even said, well, you guys are together, so you know, you're the only one to help, and I understand that because of my relationship with Catwoman. So I love, especially with the artwork, just the small movements in this book are just kind of brilliant and really sets the tone, and obviously just the painting style that this book has, I love, and really made this arc special. So I gave this one 4 stars. I thought it was a very solid ending, and that is number 6. Now, moving on to number 5. I do have this printed, but I had it somewhere else, so I just put it on an index card. But The Loud House. I did a review for the full graphic novel if you want me to go more into detail, but I enjoyed this a lot. I feel like every volume gets better, and this focused not just on Lincoln, not just on the sisters, but the parents. Sam had a storyline here. Mr. Grouse had a story. So really feel like the show and the comic is developing with every season, with every volume. And it's just nice to see this world of the Loud House just keeps on growing, and they follow continuity throughout. Some really great character moments. So that is my number 5 pick. Moving on to number 4. Haven't picked up this series in a while, but I saw in the solicits way back when that a certain character was returning. I really enjoy this character, so I picked it up, and that is Cable issue 155, and that character was Hope. So always loved Cable and Hope's relationship, their father-daughter relationship. Always my favorite portion of Cable stories was with Hope. So to see this with this issue is so well done. Just seeing how similar they are, you know, Hope walking into Central Park to go to the Xavier Institute and walks in with her gun, and Kitty's like, you don't have to have your gun. She's like, I want my gun, you know? And then she gets caught in between one of Cable's villains, and it gives her the same exact scar she has with Cable. And, you know, they finally forgive each other. They've been in a fight since the X-Force book, and they finally realize, because they're so similar, and that's why they were in a fight. And Hope is going to help Cable try to defeat his demons from being a child. So really great stuff here. I enjoyed it. I like the artwork as well. I think it was just very Cable. So overall, I gave this one 4 stars, and that was number 4. Alright, moving on to number 3, which is Miss Marvel issue 28. I really love this arc. I know maybe some people were disappointed. It took a while to see Kamala, but that was the point. You know, Kamala had to learn that she had friends and people who had her back, and that's what this whole story was. And I love the way this issue was structured. where Kamala's voice comes back. I loved how she was the narrator, even though we didn't see her. And the exact reasons why she left, and she went to like this private school I thought was interesting. And then when she did come back, she realized, oh, you know, people do need me, and I need them. And I love Kamala's supporting cast, as you know. So I like that they were the ones who were helping out, and hopefully they find out that Kamala is Miss Marvel soon. Maybe she'll have the confidence to do that. But yeah, so overall I'm going to give this 4 stars. Also really like the Carol moment where Carol and Miss Marvel forgive each other. So, and I think my doorbell's ringing, but gonna ignore it. I'm sorry, it's just like we have our doorbell stuck. But if you hear that in the background, I am sorry. Anyways, going back to the Carol stuff, I did like that Carol hugs her, you know, hugs her and said, hey, if you need me, let me know. I really enjoyed that moment, and hopefully we get to see a bit more of Carol and Miss Marvel in the end, or, you know, in future storylines. So, I gave this 4 stars. Really excited to see where this goes, and it looks like we're just going to see more of our supporting cast and Kamala interacting with each other, and, you know, Kamala figuring out what type of hero she is. So, giving that 4 stars. Moving on to number 2, which is the Mighty Thor, issue 705. Yes, the moment is here. I am upset. I love Jane. I love her story, but this is, you know, this was the way for her to go out. She died a hero. That's, you know, this issue is her, you know, death issue. And for some reason I'm like, is that right English, saying death issue? But yeah, I thought this was a really powerful, action-packed issue, and she goes down with guns blazing, and I love Thor and Odin's son's last moment. They kiss and say, hey, just say goodbye to me. And I mean, I'm hoping by next issue we have some sort of something for Jane. I don't want her to just disappear. I want to see more Jane in some way, even if her human self has died this way. But we'll see with the next issue. But what a beautiful issue. Again, action-packed and some great emotions here. And of course, Doderman's artwork is just so beautiful to look at. The thunder, just everything. He aces everything here. It feels like you're reading a storybook in so many ways. So, giving this 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, which is Runaways, issue 7. And no doubt, I mean, I don't think any issue of Runaways hasn't been my pick of the week so far. And the next issue is like the issue I've been so excited for, which is Julie and Carolina. Finally seeing them physically together. It's been a while. But yeah, with this issue, it's just all the character moments. You know, this is a very subtle issue. Not so much is happening, but it's just the interactions I loved here. Everyone really had a shining moment. You have Gert and Victor kind of bonding, and, you know, seeing where they're at. Victor, you know, not caring that he doesn't have a body, but Gert trying to figure out her place in the world, and questioning her own body, I thought was an interesting scene there. Then we have Molly, who just has her life straight, and she's like, I'm going to school. And everyone's like, why would you want to go to school? And you don't have a legal guardian. What are you supposed to do? And now Nico and Chase is her legal guardian. I thought that was so much fun. And you have those, like, fun moments with Molly in this issue, like her BFF dance, which I don't trust that BFF. We'll have to see. But, and then also when she becomes a legally, I guess, a kid of Nico and Chase, she's like shining and she's like, I feel so much comfort. So I enjoyed that scene. But of course, what made this issue for me is Carolina and Nico. I love their scenes together. And just the narration that Roel gives in this issue for them, where we get to see, yeah, they're not similar, and I like to see that they weren't friends, you know, for a very long time, because Carolina was uncomfortable, you know, and she felt like she was smaller than Nico in a lot of ways. She wasn't comfortable with herself. And then you see, like, them laughing and just having fun that they're together again. So I enjoyed that. And then the small moments of her talking about, you know, her experience in college, that she is out to her roommate, and she just meant as an alien she was out, but obviously her character, Carolina's character, I feel like her powers always had to, was a metaphor for being gay, so I thought that was interesting panel there. I thought that was really cool. And then I love the Julie and Carolina stuff in the middle of this issue. It was cute just seeing their interactions with each other. I'm just so excited to see more of them next issue. But it does look like maybe there's some shakiness there as well. Carolina didn't call her back. Julie's so worried, so I'm wondering what the relationship is at. We don't know. We haven't seen them. But I still think they're totally cute in this issue. And just so excited to see, like, a full issue with them. I love those moments in that issue. And even though it was just 2 pages and it was just Julie's voice. But aces for both Rainbow and Crisanga on the artwork and the dialogue here. But yeah, going to the artwork, there's just so much cool detail here. Just going back to that BFF dance scene, but even just the outfits. You have Chase when he's walking into parent-teacher conference. He has like something daddy on there. It's like, oh man, that's like such cool detail. But yeah, just these awesome character moments, and I love this creative team. I think they work so well together. So overall, I gave this 4.5 stars. I loved it. Love this cover too. The family picture. But that's what it's about. It's the family getting back together and exactly what that is, what their relationship is with each other. So I enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of all the comics this week. This is Comic Uno. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. Don't forget to like my Facebook page. Also, description below, there are links for my comic book, Like Father, Like Daughter. And don't forget to like the Facebook page of Like Father, Like Daughter. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.